Well, good evening to you. It is the Saturday before Easter. And I just wanted to get on here for a few minutes. I know there won't be many of you who will get on because some of us, or some of you, still cook, some of you still do some things in preparation for tomorrow. Tomorrow is one of the holiest times in Christendom. And so I was sitting here reminiscing. I was sitting here thinking. And so I said, let me get on here and see if I can have some type of input or conversation about Easter. Kathy, Nancy, how are the two of you? I remember, and I know I'm dating myself, and I have no problem with that because I'm grateful to God to still be here. Debbie, bless you for being here. I remember when a couple of weeks before Easter was busy. Rhonda, Cecile, how are you? Praying for a fantastic Resurrection Sunday on tomorrow. I remember, and I guess maybe because we were poor, and when you're raised poor, but you don't know you're poor, but when you're raised in those environments, Easter was the time when you got the new suit and the new shoes. Is when you got the ties. That's when the ladies got the new dresses and the new things that they would wear. Okay, and hey, Sheila, and so I remember the excitement about Easter. You know, the Easter eggs and the candy, the jelly beans. Um, and all of that would be in the little baskets with the colored hay, and all of that kind of stuff. And I, I remember, I remember that, and yeah, it became commercialized. It did. Um, there you go. That is when for those of us that were on limited incomes, that's when we got clothes. And so, because when we went to church back then, whether we liked church or not, we were dressed up. It was something about that time. And then it was something about being in church. And even if we didn't want to be there, it still was a good time. We got a chance to, see people. And you know how it was. We saw people that we probably only saw 3 times a year, but they were there. And it was an exciting time. That's right. That's right. And I mean, hey Wendy, I mean that's what we did, and you can call it, showing off or whatever the case. But when you're raised a certain way, those days, and what they call them holidays now, but those moments in Christianity become significant. And then as we got a little older, we did the same thing for our children. Gaither, bless you for being here, and we did all of that, and then that's Mama would be in the kitchen on Saturday because at that particular time, okay, uh, was no cooking on Sunday. You would heat it up, but there wouldn't be any cook. You didn't have microwaves back then, so you had to that dye the eggs. Yeah, talk. I wish. Do I have anybody else here that remembers that them hard boiled eggs and you dyed them? And for a few of us that had them little paint kits, and we would paint them eggs, and we would enjoy, man, cracking them Easter eggs and eating them until we got sick. Okay. It was a time when family came together and we just enjoyed one another. We go to church, and For those that were late, they would be upset because they wouldn't have a seat. And the reason they wouldn't would be because all the people who normally don't go to church were in church. It would be a packed facility. And it didn't matter how large or how small the building was, everybody would go because that was a significant day as an African American. Up, yeah, Easter speeches. You remember that? And all of that stuff would take place, and you had to know what to say. You weren't allowed to sit up there with the paper in your hand. You had to know what. And guess what? Our parents made us know those speeches because we'd have to recite them in front of them. And then we got a little older. We did the same thing with our children. We go to church, but and this I'm not even talking about COVID. I'm not even gonna deal with COVID just yet because all of a sudden things changed. All of a sudden Easter was no longer significant. Well, bless you, Jaleesa. What you doing on here? Easter plays, Katrina. Are you understanding? These were the things that we did, and for us at Union, we're going to get back to it once we get the rest of the building straightened out and all of that. But I more than that, and I'm not one of those pastors that get on here and be griping about the fact that people ain't coming to church and you ought to be. I already said what I had to say Friday at the homegoing celebration for Ricky Baldry. I didn't say what I needed to say. That is a true fact, Nancy. The only time churches are packed now is during funerals, and that's not. And even the mega churches are struggling. The attempt. What happened? What happened that in Christianity now we got the devil selling Bibles? Um, what happened to Christianity where there was a commitment that, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the family is no longer what it used to be. I believe that the family, because even for those who had fathers, even though there were you may not had a father that went to church, but he made sure those kids and mama was dressed to go. He might not have stayed for church, but I tell you what, he made sure you got there. Y'all remember them little white socks with the whatever them things was that you used to wear when y'all was younger and all of that kind of stuff and your little purses, and we would go to church because we were excited because it was Easter. It was Resurrection Sunday. It was the time when we as Christians embraced who we were as a people. And then all of a sudden, the ruffled socks, thank you so much. I knew somebody knew what kind of socks I was talking about. And so now here we are at Easter again. I'm watching March Madness, and I'm looking at how entertainment is now more important than the Lord. I'm not talking about the church, than the Lord. We live in an age now where everything else is more important than Jesus. And this is the reason that this nation is in the condition that it is in because we just figure, the Lord is only good for emergencies. But I just needed to see if there was anybody else out here that remember how it was. And again, that's nostalgia. We live in an age now, statistics show that 33% of people who attend will not be back. 33% will come maybe once every 3 to 4 weeks. And then the other 33% are the faithful ones that come every Sunday. When I talk about come every Sunday, I'm talking about watching or being physically in the building. Christy, how are you? Wendy, bless the Lord. Pastor Todd, is it just me, my friend? And again, I am not on here to complain about folk not coming to church. That is not why I'm on here. I'm just reflecting over the fact that we've lost something as a black people. There's something that is missing. Is it materialism? Is it Satanism? Is it political fallout that all of a sudden the things that bound us together and kept us as one, because the church was the hub of every activity in the black community. NAACP, Urban Leagues, well, A. Philip Randall, all of these things were birthed in the black civil rights movement. All of them were birthed in the black church because it was the one place we could come to that belonged to us. And now all of a sudden we don't feel that black preachers are good enough anymore. So this is not a racistic statement, even though I know somebody is going to say that it is. But now all of a sudden the Willie Lynch syndrome has become so entrenched in our culture that we think that white preachers teach and preach better than our black preachers do. Pastor Todd, are you still there? Because I'm getting in trouble. I'm getting in trouble. But I'm just reflecting over the fact of how, society for us has changed. And so I'm going to get on here and say it. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It, and I'm just having that moment of reflecting, man. Even and again, even if we didn't want to go to church, it was still fun. We got a chance to hang out with people. We get full of candy, be hyper for 2 days. Eat that ham and chicken and all. All of those things was a part of the family. And could it be that because the family is no longer the family, Easter is no longer Easter to us? Ooh, Jesus, Lord have mercy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It has. It has. The way we work, Pastor Todd. We don't. You remember? Do y'all remember when nothing was open on Sunday? You couldn't get groceries, you couldn't get gas. And if you notice, some of these stores are going back to that a little bit, giving people time to be with their families. But because we are a 24-hour, 7-day a week culture, we no longer allow that time for families to be together. Matter of fact, half the time when we get together, some of us can't even stand each other. And that's because we're not family anymore. Satan has done a phenomenal job of convincing us that these days, we call them CMEs, Christmas, Mother's Day, and Easter. But at least those 3 Sundays out of the year, they were in church. So I want you to do something for me. I want you to pray that God will touch the hearts of the African American community. Now, I'm not saying that whites and Latinos and Hispanics, we all have them in our churches. And I'm grateful for those who come to 528. I am just overwhelmed over the fact that we have such a blend of people that come to church. But it's the African American community that's being incarcerated, along with Latinos and others. It's the African American community that's educational opportunities are being pulled away. It's the African American community um, that has found itself between a rock and a hard place, and it doesn't know what to do because it no longer has a foundation. Its foundation is in secular humanism. Its foundation is in materialism. Please, sir, Pastor Todd, pray, and that's what I'm asking us to do. Pastor Todd's going to touch and agree with me. Can I get you to touch and agree with me that a part of this Saturday before Easter, you'll go before the Lord and ask God to send us back to church? You remember, Carolyn, the enemy has been strategic. Hey, Cora, how are you? Strategic. And the thing that we don't recognize in his methodology, he doesn't dump it all on us at one time, but he gradually erodes. Okay, I got you. Going to touch and agree. I just want to see if I can get a few people to touch and agree with me. I'm not asking you to pray all night. I'm not asking you to, but when that moment comes, let's go back to church. Let's go back when the homegoing celebration took place of Ricky Baldry and those 12 persons came to Christ. The oldest one was probably in their early 30s, and some of them that came forth was like 10, 8 years old. When I went to the back of the church, the one young man, he said, I'll be here Sunday. I mean, he was just excited. He had come to Christ. And so can we do this, please? And I try not to say please a lot because then it sounds like I'm weak and it sounds like I'm desperate because I'm really not. But I'm trying to appeal to us that are on here and for those that will be watching. Let's get back to church. There's too many churches out here. You can find one that fits. If you notice, I did not advocate for union. I did not advocate for 528. I said, let's get back to church. Because I believe God's got a church with your name on it. Listen, I got to go. I got to go. I done kept you long enough. I'm just feeling like this right now. God blesses us in what we do and all of that. So the issue isn't union. The issue is the Black Church Universal. And I'm out of here. I look so forward to seeing those that will be at 528. I'm praying, because I have my virtual church that's in Youngstown, and I'm praying and believing God that they'll show up to the building. Yep, you're still gonna have to wear a mask. Yeah, you're still gonna have to do that. And I know that's a deterrent for some people. I understand that clearly. But at that homegoing celebration with the hundreds of people were in there, almost 99% of them, they wore their masks. That says something. People want to do what's right. But the problem is there just might not be the people that touch them that could help them. We're so busy doing other things and just being so legalistic in what we do that we're so phariseistic in what we do. Okay. And my friend Pastor Todd, you have a fantastic and wonderful Easter. To each and every one of you, we are praying for you. Just touch and agree with me sometime tonight. I got to go because I'm resting. I've had a crazy week and I need to rest because I need to be able to deliver the word of God like God has delivered it to me. Y'all be blessed. Love y'all with the love of Jesus Christ. Daryl Jones, how are you, my friend? And my prayer is you make your way to somebody's church as well. Ain't no need in you praying for somebody to do what you won't do. I got to go. Y'all be blessed. May God bless you. May He keep you, is our prayer.